First contact. Unexpected companions. The massive alien vessel hung in Earth's orbit, its sleek, silvery surface reflecting the pale blue glow of humanity's home planet. Inside the ship, first contact specialist HFY nervously adjusted her translation device, her forearms twitching with anticipation. After years of observation, the Galactic Council had finally decided it was time to welcome humanity into the interstellar community. "Are you certain about this, specialist?" Captain Vornfel asked, his bioluminescent patches pulsing with concern. "The humans seem unpredictable." HFY's antenna quivered as she responded. "Our research suggests they're ready, Captain. They've made significant technological advancements and have shown a capacity for peace despite their aggressive history." The captain's compound eyes narrowed. "Very well. Initiate the communication protocol." As the ship's advanced systems began broadcasting a message of peace to every communication device on Earth, the crew waited anxiously. Within hours, a response came from a united Earth government, agreeing to a meeting. The chosen location was a sprawling park in New York City's Central Park. As HFY and her team prepared to disembark, she couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. Everything they knew about humans came from long-distance observations and intercepted broadcasts. This would be their first true interaction. As the alien delegation stepped out of their shuttle, they were greeted by a group of humans, led by Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Earth's foremost xenobiologist. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her voice warm and her smile genuine. "We're honored to be the first to greet you in person." HFY was about to respond when a loud bark shattered the formal atmosphere. To the alien's horror, a large four-legged creature came bounding across the grass, tongue lolling and tail wagging furiously. "Buddy, no," a human called out, running after the animal. "I'm so sorry," he said, addressing both the alien visitors and Dr. Rodriguez. He got excited and slipped his leash. The aliens recoiled, their cultural database identifying the creature as a dog, one of Earth's apex predators. But to their astonishment, the human reached down and casually grabbed the animal, scratching behind its ears. Is that safe?" HFY asked, her voice quavering. Dr. Rodriguez looked confused for a moment before understanding dawned on her face. "Oh, you mean Buddy? Of course, he's perfectly safe. He's a pet. A companion." The alien delegation exchanged bewildered looks. Captain Vornfel stepped forward, his voice stern. "You mean to tell us that you keep one of your planet's most efficient killing machines as companion?" The human with the dog, who introduced himself as Mike, laughed. "Buddy here. He wouldn't hurt a fly. Well, maybe a fly, but he's a big softy with people." As if to prove the point, Buddy rolled over, exposing his belly. Mike rubbed it, causing the dog's leg to thump against the ground in obvious pleasure. HFY's scientific curiosity overtook her fear. "Fascinating. You've domesticated them to this extent. How long did this process take?" Dr. Rodriguez smiled. "Thousands of years. Dogs were one of the first animals we domesticated. They've been our companions, our protectors, our helpers. They're an integral part of human society." As the conversation continued, more humans gathered in the park, many accompanied by their own animal companions. The aliens watched in a mix of horror and fascination as humans casually interacted with creatures that, on any other world, would be considered lethal threats. A child ran by, giggling as she was chased by a small furry animal. "What is Day 8? One of the alien scientists asked, pointing at the creature. "That's a cat," Dr. Rodriguez explained. "Another common pet. They're descendants of small wild felines." Captain Vornfel's bioluminescent patches flashed in disbelief. "You domesticated felines as well. Are there any predators on this planet you haven't turned into pets?" Mike laughed. "Well, not every predator, but you'd be surprised. There are people who keep big cats, wolves, even bears in some cases, though that's not as common and usually requires special permits. The alien delegation huddled together, speaking in hushed tones. This was unprecedented. In all their exploration of the galaxy, they had never encountered a species that formed such close bonds with predators. Most civilizations either eradicated dangerous species or maintained a respectful distance. Zixlora turned back to the humans, her scientific mind racing with questions. This is remarkable. In all our travels, we've never seen anything like this. How do you do it? How do you form these bonds? Dr. Rodriguez's eyes lit up, always eager to share knowledge. It's a combination of factors. Selective breeding over generations, certainly. But it's more than that. It's about understanding, empathy, and mutual respect. We've learned to communicate with these animals, to understand their needs and behaviors. And in turn, they've adapted to us. As she spoke, a jogger ran by with a large, muscular dog trotting obediently at her side. The aliens watched in awe as the powerful animal, clearly capable of taking down prey much larger than a human, followed its companion's commands without hesitation. But why? Captain Vornful asked, still struggling to comprehend. Why take the risk? Surely it would be safer to simply avoid these creatures. Mike, still petting Buddy, answered this time. Because the rewards far outweigh the risks. The bonds we form with our animal companions are deep and meaningful. They provide companionship, emotional support, and in many cases, they work alongside us. Guide dogs for the blind, therapy animals, search and rescue dogs. They're not just pets, they're partners. As the day progressed, the alien delegation was introduced to more and more examples of humanity's unique relationship with Earth's animals. They watched in amazement as police officers worked with trained dogs, as falconers demonstrated their skills with birds of prey, and as children played safely with animals that, on any other world, would be considered deadly threats. By the time the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the park, the aliens' perception of humanity had undergone a radical shift. These weren't just tool users or another spacefaring race. Humans possessed a unique ability to form connections with other species, to see potential for companionship where others saw only danger. As the first day of first contact drew to a close, Zixlora found herself re-evaluating everything she thought she knew about humanity. This species, with its ability to befriend the galaxy's most feared creatures, was unlike anything they had encountered before. And as she watched a group of humans and their various animal companions enjoying the evening in the park, she couldn't help but wonder, what other surprises did humanity have in store for the galaxy? The implications were both thrilling and terrifying. If humans could tame Earth's predators, what else were they capable of? How would they interact with the dangerous species on other worlds? And how would the rest of the galactic community react to this unprecedented ability? As Zixlora boarded the shuttle to return to the orbiting ship, she knew one thing for certain. The galaxy would never be the same again. Humanity, with its strange companions and even stranger abilities, was about to change everything. The Galactic Zoo Incident. 5 years had passed since humanity's first contact with the galactic community, and the universe was still adjusting to the peculiarities of Earth's newest spacefaring species. Nowhere was this more evident than at the newly established Galactic Zoo on the neutral planet of Centauri Prime. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, stood proudly at the entrance of the Earth's Predators exhibit. The zoo had been her brainchild, a way to showcase Earth's unique biodiversity and humanity's special relationship with its fauna. "Are you certain this is wise, Ambassador?" asked Zixlora, her old acquaintance from first contact, now the Galactic Council's liaison to Earth. "These creatures make many of our citizens uncomfortable." Elena smiled, watching as a group of wide-eyed alien children pressed their faces against the force field separating them from a lounging Bengal tiger. "That's the point, Zix. Understanding starts with exposure. Besides, all safety protocols are in place. What could go wrong?" As if the universe itself had been waiting for those fateful words, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed, and a computerized voice echoed through the corridors. Warning: containment breach in sectors 7 through 12. This is not a drill. All visitors please proceed calmly to the nearest exit. Zix Laura's bioluminescent patches flashed in panic. Ambassador, those air. The Earth Predator exhibits. Elena finished, her face grim. We need to act fast. As chaos erupted around them, Elena's mind raced. The exhibits in those sectors contained some of Earth's most formidable predators. Lions, wolves, bears, and even a few saltwater crocodiles. In the confined spaces of the zoo, with visitors from across the galaxy unfamiliar with these creatures, the situation could quickly turn deadly. Zix, I need you to coordinate with zoo security, Elena commanded, slipping into crisis management mode. Get all civilians to safe zones. I'm going to call in our emergency response team. As Zix Laura hurried off, Elena activated her comm device. This is Ambassador Rodriguez. We have a code predator. I repeat, code predator. All available handlers report to the zoo immediately. Within minutes, a team of specialized human-animal handlers arrived, led by Mike Thompson. The same Mike whose dog had caused such a stir during first contact years ago. He was older now, with streaks of gray in his hair, but his eyes still held that same calm confidence. What's the situation, Elena? Mike asked as his team geared up. Multiple containment breaches. We've got at least a dozen large predators loose in the facility. Priority is protecting civilians and recapturing the animals with minimal harm. Mike nodded, turning to his team. All right, folks. This is what we've trained for. Remember, these animals are just as scared as everyone else. Stay calm, use your training, and let's bring them in safely. As the human team ventured into the chaos, the alien security forces watched in a mix of awe and terror. Humans were willingly going after creatures that most species in the galaxy would flee from on sight. In Sector 8, a pair of wolves had cornered a group of Arcturian tourists. The wolf-like aliens were frozen in fear, their natural fight-or-flight instincts paralyzed by the sight of Earth's apex predators. Just as the situation seemed dire, Mike's voice rang out, firm and commanding. Hey there, big fellas, he called, drawing the wolves' attention. Remember me. We're not here to hurt you. To the Arcturians' amazement, the wolves' aggressive stance softened. Their ears perked up at the sound of Mike's voice, and their tails began to wag hesitantly. With a few more soothing words and some hand signals, Mike had the wolves following him docilely back to their enclosure. Meanwhile, in the aviary section, the golden eagle had escaped and was causing panic among the flying species exhibits. Sarah Chen, an expert falconer on Mike's team, calmly raised her arm, a leather gauntlet protecting her skin. Come on, beautiful, she cooed, her voice carrying over the chaos. Let's get you somewhere quiet. The majestic bird, seemingly relieved to find someone familiar in the madness, swooped down and landed gracefully on Sarah's arm. The alien observers were struck speechless by the sight of a human calmly handling a creature that, to them, looked like a flying death machine. In the reptile house, the situation was tenser. A massive saltwater crocodile had broken free and was menacing a group of aquatic aliens who had been admiring the Earth's marine life exhibits. The aliens were paralyzed with fear, their tentacles waving in distress as the crocodile advanced. Dr. Rodriguez herself took charge of this situation. Grabbing a long pole with a noose at the end, she approached the crocodile with a mixture of caution and confidence that left the alien onlookers bewildered. Easy there, big guy, Elena murmured, her voice low and soothing. Let's not do anything we'll regret. With practiced movements, she managed to loop the noose around the crocodile's snout, effectively muzzling it. A team of handlers quickly moved in to secure the massive reptile and guide it back to its enclosure. As the crisis gradually came under control, news of the humans' actions spread throughout the zoo and beyond. Alien visitors watched in disbelief as the human handlers calmly and efficiently dealt with creatures that, on any other world, would have caused mass casualties. Hours later, with all animals safely back in their enclosures, and the zoo's force field systems undergoing a complete overhaul, Alina found herself facing a rather unusual Galactic Council inquiry. "Let me get this straight, Ambassador," the Regellian representative said, his gelatinous form quivering with a mixture of fear and awe. "Not only did your people manage to recapture all the escaped predators without a single casualty, but you did so without harming the animals." Alina nodded, fighting back a smile. "That's correct, Representative. It's standard procedure for our animal handling teams." "Standard procedure," the Andromedan delegate echoed, her crystalline structure glittering with disbelief. "To approach creatures that could kill you with a single swipe." "With all due respect," Alina replied, her voice firm, "these animals are not mindless killing machines. They're complex beings with their own fears and needs. Our handlers are trained to understand and respect that." Zixlora, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke up. "Colleagues, I believe we're missing the larger implication here. The humans have demonstrated an ability that could revolutionize how we approach dangerous species across the galaxy." A murmur of discussion rippled through the council chamber. Alina held her breath, waiting to see which way the wind would blow. Finally, the Arcturian representative, still shaken from his earlier encounter with the wolves, raised a paw-like appendage. "I move that we establish a galactic commission to study human animal handling techniques. If they can tame Earth's predators, perhaps they could help us with some of our own problematic species." The motion passed unanimously, and as the council session adjourned, Alina found herself swarmed by representatives eager to learn more about Earth's unique approach to wildlife. As she fielded questions and set up future meetings, Alina couldn't help but smile. What had started as a potential disaster had turned into a diplomatic triumph. Humanity's unusual bond with Earth's creatures, once seen as a quirky oddity, was now being recognized as a valuable skill on the galactic stage. That evening, as Alina sat in her office reviewing the day's events, she received an unexpected call. It was Mike, looking tired but satisfied. "Heard about the council's decision," he said, grinning. "Looks like we'll be teaching the galaxy a thing or two about animal handling." Alina laughed. Who would have thought that our ability to befriend Earth's predators would become our greatest diplomatic asset? As they chatted, Alina's mind wandered to the future. The galaxy was vast, filled with worlds and creatures beyond imagination. And now, humanity was poised to play a unique role in exploring and understanding the cosmic menagerie. The Galactic Zoo incident had been a turning point. Humanity had proven itself not just as another spacefaring race, but as a species with a singular talent for bridging the gap between civilizations and the wild. As Alina ended the call and looked out at the stars, she couldn't help but wonder what other adventures awaited humanity in the great cosmic zoo. The hunt for the cosmic apex predator. The Galactic Council chamber was in an uproar. Holographic displays flickered with images of devastation. Shattered space stations, ravaged colonies, and fleets of advanced warships reduced to drifting debris. At the center of it all was a blurry image of a massive, serpentine creature, its body seemingly composed of swirling dark matter and stellar energy. The Void Leviathan, intoned High Counselor Xarax, his crystalline form pulsing with distress. "It has claimed 12 systems in the past solar cycle alone. Our most advanced weapons barely scratch its hide." Dr. Alina Rodriguez, Earth's ambassador, leaned forward, her brow furrowed in concentration. In the years since the Galactic Zoo incident, humanity had earned a reputation for handling dangerous creatures. But this was on a whole different scale. "What do we know about its behavior?" Alina asked, her mind already racing with possibilities. The Arcturian representative, Admiral Furpaw, brought up a new set of holograms. "It appears to be drawn to high-energy sources, stars, antimatter reactors, even the hyperspace lanes. Our attempts to lure it away from populated areas have failed spectacularly." A grim silence fell over the chamber. The unspoken question hung in the air. Was this the end of galactic civilization as they knew it? Elena took a deep breath. Counselors, I'd like to propose something unorthodox. All eyes, optical sensors, and various alien sensory organs turned to her. Humanity has a long history of dealing with apex predators. Not just taming them, but understanding them. I believe we can apply those same principles here, on a cosmic scale. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the chamber. Zixlora, now a senior diplomat, raised a tentacle. Ambassador, with all due respect, this is not some Earth animal. It's a space-dwelling monstrosity that defies the laws of physics as we know them. Elena nodded. I understand that, Zix. But at its core, it's still a living being. It has needs, instincts, perhaps even fears. If we can understand those, we might find a way to coexist with it, or at least redirect its destructive behavior. High Counselor Xerax's crystalline surface rippled with skepticism. And how do you propose to do this, Ambassador? I'd like to assemble a team, Elena replied. Our best xenobiologists, our most experienced animal handlers, and a few unconventional experts. Give us one chance to approach the Void Leviathan. If we fail, well, your current strategies don't seem to be working anyway. After hours of heated debate, the Council reluctantly agreed. They had run out of options, and humanity's track record with dangerous creatures, while bizarre, was undeniably impressive. 3 weeks later, a specially modified ship approached the last known location of the Void Leviathan. The Tess Irwin, named after a famous Earth wildlife expert, was unlike any vessel in the galactic fleet. Its hull was designed to mimic the energy signature of a small moon, and its interior was a labyrinth of specialized chambers and equipment. On the bridge, Elena stood with her hand-picked team. Dr. Samira Khan, Earth's leading xenobiologist. Mike Thompson, now a legendary animal handler. Captain Lai Wei, an expert in deep space navigation. Dr. Octavia Reyes, a pioneer in psychic communication techniques. And somewhat controversially, a young woman named Zhou Chen, whose only qualification seemed to be an unusually strong empathic ability. As they scanned the vast emptiness of space, tension hung thick in the air. Suddenly, alarms blared. Contact, shouted Captain Lai. Port side, closing fast. The view screen lit up with a sight that struck terror into the hearts of even the bravest crew members. The Void Leviathan was even more terrifying up close, a writhing mass of cosmic energy, studded with what looked like the remnants of consumed stars and planets. All stop, Elena commanded. Zoe, you're up. The young woman stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly as she placed them on a specially designed interface. As Zoe closed her eyes in concentration, the ship began broadcasting on frequencies that defied conventional physics. A mixture of electromagnetic waves, gravitational pulses, and even subtle psychic emanations. For several tense minutes, nothing happened. The Void Leviathan continued its approach, its maw, a swirling vortex of unimaginable power, beginning to open. Then, suddenly, it stopped. Zoe gasped, her eyes flying open. It's curious, she whispered. And hungry. So hungry. Dr. Khan quickly pulled up a holographic model of the creature. Of course, she murmured. Look at its structure. It's not just consuming energy. It needs specific forms of matter to maintain its cosmic balance. Mike stepped forward, his years of experience with Earth's predators evident in his calm demeanor. So we're dealing with a picky eater on a cosmic scale. What's its preferred diet, Doc? As Dr. Khan rattled off a list of exotic materials and energy types, Captain Lee's eyes widened. Wait, he interrupted. Isn't that similar to the composition of the Zeta Reticuli Nebula? Elena's face lit up with realization. It's not just destroying for the sake of it. It's searching for food that's become scarce in its natural habitat. Over the next few hours, as the Void Leviathan hovered curiously near their ship, the team worked feverishly. They composed a menu of cosmic delicacies, using their ship's advanced matter synthesizers to create small samples of the creature's preferred fare. Using a combination of Zoe's empathic broadcasts and carefully timed releases of synthesized cosmic treats, they slowly, painstakingly began to guide the Leviathan away from populated space. It wasn't easy. There were moments of terror when the creature's hunger seemed to overwhelm its curiosity, moments when the ship's systems strained to breaking point to maintain the illusion of being an energy-rich planetoid. But finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they arrived at their destination, a vast, unpopulated region of space, rich in the very materials the void Leviathan craved. As they watched the magnificent creature begin to feed contentedly on a diet designed just for it, the team let out a collective breath they hadn't realized they'd been holding. "I can't believe that worked," Captain Lee muttered, shaking his head in disbelief. Elena smiled, exhausted but triumphant. Never underestimate the power of a good meal and a little understanding. As news of their success spread, the galaxy's perception of humanity underwent another seismic shift. The species that had befriended Earth's predators had now tamed a cosmic horror. Humanity's role in the galactic community was no longer just as diplomats or traders, but as mediators between civilization and the wild, untamed aspects of the universe. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, Elena stood before a stunned audience. "The Void Leviathan is no longer a threat," she announced. "We've established a vast nature preserve for it, well away from populated space. More importantly, we've opened up a line of communication. It's not just a mindless destroyer, it's a living being, with needs and intelligence of its own." High Counselor Xerax's crystalline form shimmered with a mixture of awe and residual fear. "You've done the impossible, Ambassador. But what happens when another cosmic threat emerges? Will humanity always be there to befriend it?" Elena's reply was firm and filled with conviction. "We can't promise to solve every problem in the galaxy, but what we can do is share our knowledge, our perspective. We can teach others to look beyond their fear, to seek understanding even in the face of the unknown." As the council chamber erupted in a mix of applause and excited discussion, Elena's mind was already racing ahead. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, yes, but also full of misunderstood creatures, prehistoric terrors, and cosmic anomalies that defied explanation. Humanity, with its strange affinity for befriending the fearsome and understanding the incomprehensible, was uniquely positioned to bridge the gap between civilization and the cosmic wild. As Elena looked out at the sea of alien faces, now looking at humanity with newfound respect and wonder, she couldn't help but smile. The age of human beastmasters had only just begun, and the entire universe was their zoo. Diplomatic crisis and canine companionship. The grand ballroom of the Galactic Unity Station glittered with the assembled dignitaries of 1,000 worlds. Crystalline beings clinked gently against each other, bioluminescent species pulsed in dazzling patterns, and anti-gravity platforms bobbed gently, carrying the representatives of gaseous civilizations. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, resplendent in her formal diplomatic attire, with an unusual addition: a leash leading to a large, shaggy dog. "Ambassador," hissed Zixlora, her tentacles twitching nervously, "was it really necessary to bring your companion to such a crucial event?" Elena smiled, reaching down to scratch behind the ears of her faithful companion, Max. "Trust me, Zix. Max isn't just a pet. He's a highly trained therapy and support animal. And given the tensions we're dealing with today, we might need all the help we can get." The Galactic Harmony Treaty, years in the making, was finally ready to be signed. It promised an era of unprecedented cooperation and peace among the various factions of the galaxy. But old rivalries died hard, and the air was thick with unspoken tensions. As Elena made her rounds, she noticed something interesting. Species that normally kept a wary distance from each other seemed to relax slightly in Max's presence. The big dog's wagging tail and friendly demeanor were apparently universal symbols of goodwill. "What a fascinating creature," rumbled Grand Arbiter Keswick of the Hive Collective, his compound eyes fixed on Max. "It serves no obvious defensive or offensive purpose, yet you keep it close. Why?" Elena smiled. "Companionship, Grand Arbiter. Max here is more than just an animal. He's a friend, a supporter. In many ways, he represents the best of what we hope to achieve with this treaty: trust, loyalty, and mutual understanding despite our differences." As she spoke, Elena noticed a subtle shift in the Arbiter's posture. The normally aggressive stance of the insectoid species softened slightly. The evening progressed, and it seemed that the treaty signing would go off without a hitch. But as the delegates gathered for the final ceremony, disaster struck. A series of explosions rocked the station. Alarms blared, and panic erupted in the ballroom. Through the chaos, Elena caught sight of a group of shadowy figures moving with purpose towards the podium, where the galactic president was to sign the treaty. "Max, guard," Elena commanded. The dog's demeanor changed instantly from friendly companion to alert protector. As Elena rushed towards the podium, Max kept pace, his powerful body serving as a furry shield. The Assassins, a radical group opposed to galactic unification, had almost reached their target when Max sprang into action. With a deep, thunderous bark that startled even the most composed diplomats, he leaped at the lead attacker. What followed was a display of canine prowess that would be talked about in galactic circles for centuries to come. Max didn't maim or kill. Instead, he used his bulk and training to corral and subdue the Assassins, working in perfect tandem with Elena and the security forces that finally arrived on the scene. In the aftermath, as the would-be assassins were led away and shaken diplomats tried to process what had happened, all eyes turned to Max. The big dog, his job done, had returned to his normal friendly self, tail wagging as he accepted pats from relieved aliens. "Extraordinary," murmured the galactic president, a being of pure energy contained within a humanoid force field. "In all my cycles, I've never seen such a display of loyalty and skill from a non-sentient creature." Elena, catching her breath, smiled proudly. "Max is the result of thousands of years of partnership between humans and dogs, Mr. President. What you saw tonight is the culmination of a bond that goes beyond mere training." As the shock of the attack wore off, something unexpected began to happen. Diplomats from warring factions, who had been reluctant to even look at each other earlier, now gathered around Max, united in their admiration and curiosity. The Thoraxian ambassador, whose species had been on the brink of war with the Spiral Confederation for centuries, found himself shoulder to shoulder, or rather, carapace to tentacle, with his longtime rival, both eager to give Max a congratulatory pat. Perhaps, the Thoraxian clicked thoughtfully, "We have been too hasty in our judgments. If a species can forge such a bond with a creature so different from themselves, maybe there is hope for us after all." Elena, seeing an opportunity, stepped forward. "Ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished beings of all designations," she addressed the crowd. "What we witnessed tonight goes beyond a simple act of heroism. It's a testament to what can be achieved through trust, compassion, and genuine partnership." She knelt down next to Max, who leaned against her supportively. Humanity's relationship with dogs, and indeed with many Earth species, is built on mutual respect and understanding. We've learned to communicate across the barriers of species, to find common ground with beings very different from ourselves. The assembled diplomats listened, enraptured. Elena continued, her voice strong and passionate. "Isn't that what we're trying to achieve with this treaty? To look beyond our differences, to find the common threads that bind all sentient life. If we can learn to understand and respect beings as different from us as Max is from me, surely we can learn to do the same with each other." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. The galactic president, sensing the shift in the room, made a swift decision. "Let us not allow the actions of a few misguided individuals to derail our progress," he announced. "I propose we sign the treaty here and now with our unexpected hero as a witness." And so, in a turn of events that would have been unthinkable just hours before, the Galactic Harmony Treaty was signed. The official holographic records of the event show the Galactic President's glowing hand signing the document, with Max's paw print solemnly stamped next to it. As the celebration began in earnest, Alina found a quiet moment with Zixlora. The alien diplomat shook her head in amazement. "I must admit, Alina, when you first suggested bringing Max to this event, I thought you had finally lost your mind. But now I understand." Alina smiled, watching as Max charmed a group of wide-eyed alien children, their parents looking on with a mixture of nervousness and delight. "It's what humanity does best, Zix. We bridge gaps. We find connections where others see only differences. And sometimes we do it with a little help from our furry friends." As the night wore on, Alina couldn't help but reflect on the strange journey that had brought her, and humanity, to this point. From first contact in a New York City park to taming cosmic horrors to averting diplomatic disasters with the help of a dog, it had been a wild ride. But looking around at the diverse beings now mingling freely, many of them pausing to give Max an appreciative pat or treat, Alina felt a surge of hope. The galaxy was vast and often dangerous, filled with challenges that sometimes seemed insurmountable. But with understanding, compassion, and maybe a few loyal animal companions by their side, humanity was ready to face whatever the cosmos had in store. As if sensing her thoughts, Max looked up at her, his tail wagging. Alina scratched his ears, smiling. "Good boy, Max," she whispered. "Good boy." The Galactic Pet Show and the Rise of Human Influence. The massive exhibition hall of New Pangaea, Earth's premier orbital station, buzzed with an energy unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Beings from 1,000 worlds milled about, their attention focused on the myriad of enclosures, habitats, and demonstration areas spread throughout the space. Welcome to the first-ever Galactic Pet Show. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stood at the entrance, barely containing her excitement. This event, years in the making, was the culmination of humanity's rising influence in galactic affairs. What had started as a quirky human trait, the domestication of Earth's creatures, had evolved into a cultural phenomenon that was sweeping across the stars. "I still can't quite believe we pulled this off," Zixlora remarked, her tentacles waving in amusement. The once skeptical alien had become one of Alina's closest friends and supporters over the years. Alina grinned. "Never underestimate the universal appeal of cute, fuzzy creatures, Zix. Now, shall we?" As they made their way through the exhibition, the sheer diversity on display was staggering. Traditional Earth pets were well represented, of course. Dogs of every breed imaginable demonstrated their skills in agility courses, while cats lounged regally in elaborate space-age towers. Parrots and other birds showed off their linguistic abilities, chattering in a dozen alien languages. But it was the non-Earth exhibits that truly showcased how far things had come. A group of Arcturians proudly displayed their tame asteroid worms, creatures that could burrow through solid rock, but now contentedly munched on mineral treats from their handlers' hands. The Zeta Reticulans had somehow managed to form a symbiotic bond with miniature nebula clouds, which changed colors based on their keepers' emotions. Perhaps most surprisingly, a delegation from the Hive Collective showcased their newly domesticated warrior drones. The once fearsome soldiers now performed intricate dances and solved complex puzzles, all while gently interacting with awestruck visitors. "Ambassador Rodriguez," a voice called out. Alina turned to see Dr. Samira Khan, the xenobiologist who had been instrumental in understanding the Void Leviathan years ago. "You've got to see this." Dr. Khan led them to a special enclosure where a creature that looked like a cross between a squid and a sunburst floated serenely. "This is a juvenile Void Leviathan," she explained, her voice brimming with excitement. "We've managed to communicate with the adult we encountered. It's allowed us to study its offspring, and we're learning so much about cosmic ecosystems." Elena stared in wonder. The creature that had once terrified the galaxy was now a source of scientific breakthrough, and, if she wasn't mistaken, looked almost cute in its juvenile form. As they continued their tour, Alina was stalked every few meters by diplomats, scientists, and ordinary citizens, all eager to share their experiences. The techniques we learned from your canine training programs have revolutionized how we approach education in the hive, the collective's ambassador chittered enthusiastically. A Thoraxian scientist added, studying the human-animal bond has opened up entirely new fields of psychology and sociology. We're understanding interspecies relationships in ways we never imagined. Even the energy beings of the radiant confluence, usually aloof and detached, had a display. They had formed a symbiotic relationship with what looked like living auroras, inspired by humanity's examples of mutualistic partnerships. As the day progressed, Alina found herself at the center of a roundtable discussion with some of the galaxy's most influential leaders. The topic: the wider implications of humanity's approach to interspecies relationships. What humanity has demonstrated, Alina began, is that intelligence and worthiness of respect come in many forms. By learning to communicate with and understand creatures very different from ourselves, we've developed a unique perspective on galactic relations. The galactic president nodded thoughtfully. Indeed, your species' ability to forge connections with non-sentient creatures has translated into an uncanny diplomatic skill. Humans have mediated conflicts we thought were unsolvable. It goes beyond diplomacy, added the Arcturian chancellor. Humanity's influence has sparked a galaxy-wide reassessment of how we interact with our environments. Worlds that were once stripped for resources are now being seen as complex ecosystems worthy of study and preservation. A holographic representative of the silicoid consensus flickered to life. We've existed for eons seeing organic life as inefficient and chaotic, but observing human-animal relationships has caused us to reevaluate. There's an elegance in these bonds we hadn't appreciated before. As the discussion continued, Alina felt a warmth spreading through her chest. Humanity had faced its share of challenges since joining the galactic community. There had been fears, misunderstandings, and moments of genuine peril. But in the end, it was their most unique trait, the ability to form deep bonds with other species, that had truly changed the galaxy. The event concluded with a spectacular parade of Earth animals and their alien counterparts. Dogs marched alongside asteroid worms, cats rode on the backs of miniature nebulae, and at the center of it all, to everyone's amazement, was a juvenile void leviathan, gently guided by a team of human and alien handlers. As the cheers of the crowd washed over her, Alina felt a tug on her sleeve. She looked down to see a young alien child, its species unfamiliar to her. "Excuse me," the child said in carefully practiced human language. "Can you teach me how to make friends with animals like you do?" Alina knelt down, smiling warmly. "Of course, little one. The first step is to approach with an open heart and mind. Treat them with kindness and respect, and you'd be amazed at the friendships you can form." As she spoke, Alina realized she was no longer just talking about animals. In teaching the galaxy about their relationships with Earth's creatures, humans had inadvertently provided a blueprint for cosmic cooperation and understanding. Later that evening, as the exhibition hall quieted and the last of the visitors departed, Alina stood by a large viewing window, looking out at the star-studded expanse of space. Zix Laura joined her, a comfortable silence settling between them. "You know," Zix finally said, "when we first met, I thought humans were recklessly naive, bringing predators to first contact, treating dangerous creatures like companions. It seemed like a recipe for disaster." Alina chuckled. "To be fair, it hasn't always been smooth sailing." "No," Zix agreed, "but look at what you've accomplished. You've changed how the entire galaxy views interspecies relationships. You've brought worlds together, sparked scientific revolutions, and shown us all a new way of looking at the universe." Alina nodded, her gaze still fixed on the stars. "We've come a long way, haven't we? From that first meeting in Central Park to all of this." "So," Zix asked, a hint of mischief in her voice. What's next for humanity? Planning to domesticate black holes? Make pets out of supernovas? Elena laughed. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Though now that you mention it, I did hear about an interesting project involving communication with sentient gas clouds in the Orion Nebula. As they bantered, a small shape trotted up to them. It was Max, Elena's faithful canine companion, now gray around the muzzle but still as spirited as ever. He sat between them, looking up expectantly. Elena reached down to scratch his ears, a gesture that had become synonymous with humanity's unique place in the galaxy. As she did, she felt a profound sense of gratitude and purpose. Humanity's journey to the stars had been full of surprises, challenges, and wonders. But through it all, it was their connection to the creatures of Earth, a bond forged over thousands of years, that had truly set them apart. In teaching the galaxy about companionship, empathy, and the value of all life, humanity had found its true calling. As Max leaned contentedly against her leg, Elena looked out once more at the vast, star-filled panorama before her. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, but with open hearts, curious minds, and their loyal animal companions by their side, humanity was ready for whatever adventures awaited them among the stars. The age of human beast masters had only just begun, and the entire universe was their playground.